discussion on Kababayan LA. I find it hard to smile because we're talking about something like divorce, a relationship ending. But divorces don't have to be as sad because sometimes it's actually road to a better life.
Absolutely.
You've seen that
I get asked by a lot of clients and random strangers, how can you deal with a topic as dark as divorce? But my clients leave me much happier than they originally came in. So it is, for me, a therapeutic process in trying to help them out and advise them through a very dark period.
And I guess the only way you can come out of a divorce happy is if you're advised well. Exactly. And that is why you need a good lawyer. Not necessarily, you were talking about earlier, not necessarily an aggressive lawyer. How do you pick a lawyer that's good for you?
Well, it's definitely something, it's a personal choice. Not unlike a doctor or mechanic, you need to trust the person who's giving you this sage advice. But in general, I try to make sure that I'm not bringing any cases to a court that my client is trying to get me to take if it doesn't seem like we have a chance of winning. And so I choose my battles very carefully. I try to make sure, not unlike poker, if it seems like the odds are in our favor, then it may be time to press. If the odds are not in your favor, you would be foolish to go before a court only to try to have to lose that scenario.
Would you advise your clients to be more aggressive or less aggressive?
In general, less aggressive, because they almost always come to you with certain ideas that they've seen from TV or the movies and certain fallacies that you have to basically educate them and let them know, no, you know, we can take this certain type of motion to the court, but we're going to have to change the facts. You know, we need, if you want X, Y, or Z, we're going to have to change 1, 2, 3 first before we can even begin to go down that road.
Would you say that that's one of the pitfalls of people commit when going through a divorce, that they have fallacies, they have, you know, preconceived notions of how it's going to be and how it's done?
Oh, definitely. There's so much misinformation out there, especially even on the internet. You know, people will try to self-diagnose what are the issues, they'll try to self-diagnose mental health relation problems, and there is a lot of misinformation out there. So.
You're smiling. You have...
Yes, definitely. And then, you know, we come in with the culture of the pharmaceutical companies putting out all this information saying, if you have this, you should be, you know, you need to do this, and you need to tell your doctor you want this medication, and it's just a little bit, you know, interesting.
Is there such a thing as, had you come earlier to me, we would have fixed this, but now it's beyond repair for counseling?
Sure, I think that would be possible, but I also think that people, you can't, you know, as Jesus said earlier, you can't force someone to change their behavior. I think when they do come to counseling, at a certain point, they've come to a certain acceptance of what they're going to do or what they're willing to do. So I don't know if you could say that it was too late. Maybe they were not in the right time of their life. I can't really say.
In the same way that I asked Jesus, how do you pick a lawyer for you? How do you pick a good counselor? Because a counselor can also make or break your relationship, especially if you trust them so much that you rely on their output and input.
Yes. Well, first of all, the biggest difference that therapists from other professionals is that we do not give advice, because advice is really based on what we believe is correct, but that's how do we make that decision for someone's life. So our goal is really, I see myself as a therapist as my role is to ask the right questions to get people to think about things and then make that decision based, and then also provide them with skills, how to make effective decisions and how to think through how to use information, how to get resources, self-advocacy, all of these skills. And the thing that I would really, but what I do really emphasize though as a therapist, when there are children involved in a marriage, I will fight for the kids' rights.
Right. Okay. And that's what you do as well. Lawyers do that too.
Absolutely.
Child support and all that, right? We're running out of time. I know that you don't give advice. Lawyers give advice, so legal advice. What is the one advice you would tell people out there that are, you know, maybe considering divorce or going through a divorce? What's one thing that they always need to be informed about?
Especially, well, Gail mentioned when there are children involved, then it becomes a no-brainer that you've got to be sensitive to how the children are going to view this. A marriage can last 6, 7, a dozen years, but everybody who's ever grown up knew a parent at some point. And that's a lifelong commitment. It's a relationship. It doesn't go away, in the way that you view somebody or your parent or their spouse or significant other is something that you're going to take those cues into your own adulthood. And so if you want them to grow up with good relationships, and so you want to be a good model person, even in the termination of a relationship. And that's one of the most important things to try to remember about a divorce, is try to set yourself to be a good role model for the next generation.
Right. That's a good advice. You know, I hope you learned or you picked up a thing or two from this show today. I certainly did a lot, especially when you're going through a divorce. Emotions run high. You have to be logical when you're making decisions, when you're thinking about what you're going to do. But also at the same time, it's also good to know that on a positive note, relationships can be saved.
Yes, and also it's not the fact whether you get divorced or not that affects the children's lives for the future. It's what you do during the divorce and after the divorce that makes it positive for the children.
Wow.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Something to think about. And when you go through that process, whether deciding to go through a divorce or going through a divorce, we have these people eager to help you. Attorney Jesus Silva, family lawyer. Gail, of course, licensed family and marriage therapist. Thank you for sharing your expertise, what you know, with us today on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. This has been Janelle Sawyer, Kababayan in Los Angeles. I'll see you next time.